I want you to picture this scenario. You finally made the decision. You're locked in on your vision, the business, the body, the dream. You're following every step the guru's promised would work. You're disciplined. You're consistent for the first time in your life. Yet days blur into weeks and the needle is barely moving. You're doing everything right, but real tangible results feel out of reach. It's torture, like running headfirst into a brick wall. Each effort more painful than the last. And a quiet voice starts whispering in the back of your mind. Is this even going to work? That's the moment the unconscious mind begins to lull you back into your old ways through resistance, fatigue, and frustration, trying to convince you that things just don't work out for people like you. This is the crossroads that separates the 1% from the 99%. How you respond here is everything. I remember the first time I hit that wall. I was 16 years old. I was about a year into self-improvement, and I decided that it was time to start my first business. I chose the flashiest business model that was trending at the time, a social media marketing agency. And honestly, it was one of the most locked in periods of my life. I was up at 6 a.m., training super hard, hopping straight into outreach. I was even booking appointments. But every day felt like wading into a pit of crocodiles. I remember literally crying before each cold call because I didn't know if I could take another rejection. It was that painful. But I kept pushing forward. Weeks passed, every opportunity dissolved, every call a dead end, and yet I still persisted. I was giving that the kind of effort where you don't even really know if you have that much more to give. And after about 3 months, I hit my limit. I quit. It wasn't until years later that I realized I'd never failed. I was just missing 3 vital components to what I call now the winner's formula. Without those pieces in place, every action I took, every step I made would just slide off the surface instead of sinking in. I call them in this order: the key, the door, and the path. Together they form this kind of creative holy trinity, the bedrock of how you build a life, not just a goal. And every successful person, whether they realize it or not, utilize these 3 principles in order to shape their reality and tilt the odds in their favor. These 3 aren't separate concepts. They work together, kind of like a circuit where it only comes to life when all the pieces are connected. So I want you to pay close attention to each one of these principles because you really need to understand and apply them all if you want to achieve the results that we're talking about here in this video. We're going to start with the door, and you'll understand why in a moment. See, 16-year-old me was taking all the right actions, but I was doing them from the wrong identity. I didn't see it at the time, but every message I sent, every cold call I made was coming from a version of me that still believed he wasn't enough. The door is your identity, the self you must walk through before anything outside you can change. Your identity is like a character you step into, a blend of stories, habits, memories, and interpretations that shape how you move through the world. But notice how I said your identity, because you are actually one level above it. That distinction is subtle, but everything. If you want to understand identity, you have to see it as something that you wear rather than something that you are. It's your social costume. Imagine it like this. When you were born, you arrived knowing nothing. No name, no language, no concept of me. Even as you took your first breath, letting out a scream that symbolically marked the beginning of your life, you didn't even recognize that voice as your own. You began as a blank canvas, a mind untouched by meaning. And then the strokes began. Maybe the first was your name, a sound repeated so often that it became familiar, then meaningful, then personal. As you grew, more strokes layered in: words, rules, expectations, and labels. By the time you made it through high school, an entire image had formed, almost completely covering the canvas beneath it. But what no class ever taught you is this: your identity is the architect of your fate. Maxwell Maltz said it well. A person always acts, feels, and behaves in accordance with their self-image. Think of your identity as a box that you live inside of, and the walls are constructed of the beliefs that you've accepted of what's realistic, possible, or out of reach for you. What kind of life a person like you can live. Outside that box is everything that your life could be, the unlived potential. And the box isn't inherently bad. You actually need an identity, which we can also refer to as an ego, in order to operate effectively in this world. What you don't want is a cluttered identity that's built on scarcity, trying to crawl its way to success and abundance. That's why people miss opportunities that are literally right in front of them. Vadim Zeland, in his fantastic book, Reality Transurfing, calls this outer field of potential the alternate space, the infinite forms reality could take shape as if you weren't confined to the old image of yourself. See, there's a version of reality where you build your dream life with the tools that are currently available to you. There's even a version of reality where that's effortless and easy. And the doorway into that reality is the identity that you choose to embody. When you become the person that recognizes the opportunities and moves with swift, decisive energy, the world begins to rearrange itself around you to suit who you have just become. At that point, doors don't open for you. You become the door, and the reality you've been dreaming of steps through you. Chapter 2. The key. If the door is your identity, then the key is what allows you to see the door in the first place. The key is your awareness. More specifically, the ability to perceive the stories that you're living inside of, the automatic reactions that feel like you, and the unconscious patterns that are steering your life. Without awareness, the identity is invisible. It's like stepping into a ring blindfolded. You feel every punch, but you can't tell where the swing is coming from. You cannot dodge patterns that you can't perceive. There are two main practices that have had the highest leverage impact on my life, and have honestly exponentially, if you can even measure it, increased my awareness over the years. I'm sure you've heard of them before, but I'm gonna paint them in a new light so maybe you can actually understand the true power of them and why they work and why you keep hearing about them. Because trust me, the things that you keep hearing about, there's a reason you keep hearing about them. The first practice is journaling, although not the typical kind of journaling where you jot down the time of the date and log the events of the day, although you can still do that. The version I use is what a lot of people call stream of thought journaling. And it's so simple. You literally get a piece of paper and a pen. I recommend paper and pen. It's more connecting in my experience than digital, but you can do what you want. And just allow your skull to just unload onto the page. Just write everything that comes to mind. Don't hesitate. Don't overanalyze. Don't judge yourself. Even the thoughts that you don't want to think, write those too. Write everything that comes to mind for 3 minutes. You're gonna set a 3-minute timer for this practice. And in those 3 minutes, just let loose. When you write without judgment, you're not creating thoughts, you're revealing them. You're actually mapping real time the internal script your identity has been feeding you, and the page becomes like a mirror. I remember actually the first time I looked back on one of my journals, I had been writing in it for months and I never actually liked to read back. I didn't see the value in that. And one day I decided to just flip around and see what I could see. And I had this massive awakening because all of a sudden I realized the thought loops that I'd been stuck in for months and months and months, and I made the correlation between the thoughts that I was thinking and the experience that I was having in my life, which was I was experiencing a lot of discipline problems. I couldn't get myself to get up early. I couldn't get myself to go to the gym. I couldn't get myself to do all these things, and I realized it was a product of my thinking. And so I changed my thinking, and all of a sudden my actions changed naturally because I was operating from a different identity. I actually remember laughing because it was all of a sudden so obvious. I wasn't lost. I was just rehearsing the same mental script over and over and over again without realizing. I wasn't aware of this before because the thoughts just felt like me. They felt like who I am. I didn't even consider that they were just programming from my subconscious, my identity playing out in my mind and playing out through my actions. I didn't realize that I could just observe them and not engage. I want to challenge you, and I promise if you take me up on this challenge, you are going to see amazing results in your life. So please actually do this. I know you can. It's very minimal effort. 3-minute timer every day for 30 days. I want you to just at some point in your day, take out your journal and do the stream of consciousness practice. And at the end of these 30 days, I want you to look back at all those pages and come back to this video and comment what happened. What did you realize? What did you learn about yourself? Because I guarantee you, you will learn something about yourself and you will have a shift. And now I want to get into the second practice, and this is quite possibly the oldest practice, meditation. Obviously, there are infinite variations of how meditation can be done. But for our purposes, the simplest is the best. A regular meditation practice has been the single most impactful thing in my life, more than any book that I've read, any podcast, any YouTuber, any massive spiritual breakthrough. Because without meditation, I would have never had the ability to actually integrate and allow this information to settle into my being. Meditation didn't just change me, it created the space and clarity to allow the insights in. The form of meditation that I'm going to teach you today is a simple follow the breath meditation. You're going to find a nice quiet place, preferably quiet. It doesn't have to be quiet. I recommend quiet though. And sit down with your spine erect against, maybe you have like a chair or something, and close your eyes. Focus on the sensation of your breath coming in your nose and out your mouth, and just observe that happening and feel the sensations. Try to get as close to the sensations with your awareness as you can. And what you'll notice, and this is actually where the practice of meditation comes into place, is you're going to get distracted. Thoughts are going to come up, feelings are going to come up. You're going to think about how much your butt hurts or how loud the fan is in the room. I need to go turn it off, actually. Notice that and go back to the breath. If you can notice when you get distracted and simply go back to the breath, that is the practice of meditation. It's not actually how long you can keep your focus on the breath, although that is a part of it. The practice is actually going back every time you get distracted, because what this is doing is every time you notice that you're on a thought tangent, you're increasing your awareness, because throughout the day, you're thinking thousands of thoughts, but you're not really aware of the thoughts that you're thinking. What meditation is doing is actually training your mind to become aware of what you're thinking so that you can move your awareness back to what matters. And the more you do this, it's like putting reps in at the gym. You can think of your awareness like a muscle. The more times you do this, the more reps you put in, the stronger your awareness gets, the more you're able to hold it. You'll soon see that awareness is your number one superpower. It is the most powerful faculty that you have, because what you focus on, one, becomes who you are. If you're focused on a certain kind of information, that becomes who you are. If you're focused on a certain group of people, that becomes your identity. If you're focused on a certain vision, that becomes everything that your awareness is able to perceive. The more focused you can be, the more that you can direct your life, your actions, your emotions, everything in the direction that you want. So meditation actually allows you to cultivate that focus, that awareness in a way that you can control, and it gets easier. That's the beautiful thing. Is in the beginning stages, this might feel very difficult, but that's with anything. If you're lifting weights, you don't start off with benching 275. Right? You start off benching what you can bench, and you slowly build up, because you know that eventually you're going to get to 275 and beyond. And once you're strong, it's pretty easy to maintain it at that point. Awareness, when cultivated, listen closely to this, awareness when cultivated is what allows us to notice the space in between when stimulus happens and our response or reaction to it. We begin to see things as they truly are. And with this newfound awareness, that initiates us onto the path. Neville Goddard called this the bridge of incidents, the sequence of events that plays out once you've released the old identity and stepped into fully the new identity that already has your desired reality. The identity where everything works out for you perfectly, where every response and reaction that you have is appropriate to bring you swiftly to your goals and your desires. You can imagine the bridge of events kind of like a Disney ride that life brings you on. Things might and probably will start falling away from your life. You might get fired, you might get dumped. Pay close attention to what I'm about to say, because this is where most people get stuck. They try to control the unfolding. They overthink, and they perceive every challenge through the lens of the old identity. But the path is not about control. The path is non-resistance. Literally, it's non-resistance. You have the door, which is your identity, which you open with the key, your awareness. And you allow your actions, your behaviors, and your reality to rearrange for you once you are aware through non-resistance. The path is allowing it to unfold. The new identity that you're embodying already contains the motivations, the impulses, the actions necessary to achieve your desired reality. Like a tape recorder, you swapped out the old one for the new one, and now you just have to watch it play out. You don't have to guess what the next lyric is going to be or mess with the tape recorder. Just let it play. Let the music play. During this period, your emotions may start doing some confusing things. Your actions may appear confusing. Old habits may twitch. Thoughts may argue for the old self. But if you stay vigilant, calm, and just observe, you'll notice that this chaos is literally just the conditioning falling away. Let it fall. Let the doubt speak without obeying it. Let the identity unravel itself from the inside out. It's actually okay if things get chaotic. The chaos is literally just your outer reality reflecting the falling away of your internal old identity. Things must fall away out here because the things that are falling away were resulting from that old identity that wasn't even you in the first place. Trust me, everything else is going to rearrange itself to reflect back to you what is true to you. This new, more authentic identity that you're embodying is going to reflect back to you through reality. This is non-resistance. This is the path. This is the final ingredient to the winner's formula. Once you've unlocked the door, your identity with the key, your awareness, you are aware of your old identity and you're aware of who you would like to be. All that's left is to literally allow the old identity to fall away so that you can embody the new one. And you do that through non-resistance. If this feels confusing at first, I get it. It's a lot and it felt confusing for me too. But if you made it through this video and even 5% of what I said made sense, you're actually already on the path. Most people could not sit through this level of depth. So the fact that you're still here means that your consciousness is already upgrading. You are already on the path that's leading you towards your desired reality. If you would like to work with me one-on-one, the link to my calendar is in the description. Thank you for watching. I love you all dearly, and I'll see you soon. Take care.